everybody, welcome to your everyday math lesson today for lesson 5.10 for 5th grade. So today is actually going to be a little bit of a 2-day lesson. So I'm going to kind of combine it. So please just bear with me. Okay, so we're going to start by doing representing fraction multiplication, figure out a way to fold paper or draw a picture to show you that. And then we're going to do something called an open response or an extended response question where sometimes when you're taking an iLearn test in Indiana, or you take a test for your teacher, or you're working on an assignment and they say, explain your thinking. How did you solve that problem? They want you to use extended response. They want you to use math terms. They want you to use math words, and they want you to tell how you solved the problem. Telling the person I solved by doing math is not an acceptable response. We want you to go deep. We want you to really think through your process. We want you to think about all of the steps involved and really try to explain your thinking. And this is important because sometimes we want to know how you would process the information. Remember, I know that I've told you in the past that I learn differently from a lot of people. I teach 9 million different ways to do one thing because we all learn differently. And so when we're doing this extended response, I'm going to ask a lot of you to type out your thinking. I want you to tell me how you processed the question and how you processed how to solve the problem. All right. So we are going to practice that today as well. We're going to start in your Everyday Math Workbook, page 182. This is the version 2, Everyday Math, volume 2, 182. And we're going to begin with drawing a picture of it. It says, draw a picture or fold a piece of paper to help you find the answer. Now, you know how to find the answer. You know how to do it just by multiplying straight across. Absolutely. But I want you to be able to show it in a picture as well. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to show your paper, knowing that this is one full sheet of paper. Okay. Then you're going to show 1/3 and 2/5. So I'm going to first separate it into thirds. And for me, it's easier to go ahead and label 1/3, 2/3. And then I'm going to separate it the opposite way. This time I'm going to separate it horizontally. I'm going to separate it into 5 pieces. Notice, in order to separate into 5 pieces, I draw 4 lines. There are 5 sections going up now. 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, and the top would be 5/5, or 1 whole. This is my 0, 0. Awesome. Now we're going to use our picture to help us figure out this answer. So I've shown you a couple of ways. If you want to do the paper double shading method, that is fine. I will actually draw another one down here where I will do your double shading for you. So if I'm going to shade 1/3, and then I'm going to get a different color. Let's go orange. And let's go 2/5. That would be my double shading method. So if that's how you want to do it, fine. I prefer area model. I think it's just easier. So I'm going to go over to 1/3. I'm going to go up to 2/5. And now I have my square. Do you see, or my rectangle? So you see what in my rectangle that should be shaded? 2 pieces out of 15 total. I want you to now try to use words to explain how my picture, either one of them, shows this problem. Why does this picture show 1/3 of 2/5? See if you can explain your thinking. I want you to try to type out your reasoning now. For this question, what I would do is I would start by thinking about the problem in general. I would say that, explain how my picture. I first showed 1/3 of my paper. Then I separated the page into fifths, right? So I first showed 1/3, then I separated my paper into fifths. I shaded 2/5 of the paper. Remember, I said I already showed it, I split it up into thirds, and then I shaded 2/5. There are a couple of options that you can do, so that is how I personally would write this. This is the one actually from Everyday Math. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually, I'm going to pause my video. It's not going to be a question for you. I'm actually going to write it down here, and we're going to talk about it. Okay, so this is one of the examples or one of the samples that you can use that was kind of in the Everyday Math book. So first, it says, I drew a rectangle with 3 equal columns. 1, 2, 3. Columns go up and down. All right. Then I shaded one of them to show 1/3. Right here. Then I divided the same rectangle into 5 rows to show fifths. Rows go sideways. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I shaded 2/5 with a darker color. There were 2 shaded pieces out of 15 total. So my answer is 2/15. Notice all of the math terms that we have in this answer. Math terms are important. We need to make sure that we're using as many as we can, because if you're trying to explain your thinking, the more math words that you can use, the more it shows your understanding. So I talked about drawing a rectangle, 3 equal columns, showing 1/3. Then I divided the same rectangle, 5 rows to show fifths. I shaded 2/5 with a darker color. There were 2 shaded pieces out of 15 total pieces. My answer is 2/15. That's a lot of math words in there. A lot of math words. This is important, and this is something that you need to know how to do. Using these math terms will be very beneficial to you, okay? Now we're going to look at and work on our other part of our lesson. So technically, this should be a 2-day lesson. This should be a lesson where we should be able to start working on it today, work a little bit more on it tomorrow. However, we're going to kind of combine it. We're going to condense it, okay? So we're going to look at our question here. It says, sharing breakfast. Mrs. Dominic brought in a breakfast casserole to celebrate her 5th grade class's good behavior. First, the students in Group A served themselves some casserole. Then the students in Group B took some of what was left. The picture above shows how much casserole the class took. So how much casserole did Group B take? I want you to take a minute and see if you can figure it out. Draw this out on a piece of paper if you need to. It is attached to the lesson, so you can use that attachment if you also need to. So take a minute, try to figure it out, and tell me how much of the entire casserole did Group B have? For my answer, the first thing that I would do is I would take this picture and I would finish drawing those lines, because that's going to help me. Okay. I see that Group A, they took 1, 2/3. They ate 2/3. Group B then took part of what was left. So what was left? If Group A had 2/3, what portion did they leave behind for Group B? Group B, they had about 1/3 to choose from. And then they split it again into fourths. So the way that I look at this is I'm going to look at 1/3, because that's what was left. And then they split it into fourths. And it looks like they had 3/4. They left this one little piece over. So how much of the casserole did they take? They took 3 pieces out of 12 total. 3 are dark gray. There are 12 total. Absolutely, I did a picture. So it says, add to the picture or make your own drawing to show how you found the amount that the whole class took. So again, I added to this picture up here. I went ahead and I had it separated. I started by cutting it into thirds. And I thought, okay, this is already used. This is what's left. Okay, so they have 1/3 left. And then I separate it into fourths because I know that they ate 3/4 of what was left. So this is what Group B ate, right? So write a number sentence that models the amount of casserole that Group B took. What number sentence could I use? And if you just paid attention, you probably saw the answer, by the way. I hope you're really watching the video and taking notes. What number sentence could I use to figure out how much casserole Group B took? Again, I've already done this with you. I said they had 1/3, and then I multiplied that because they took 3/4 of that. So my number sentence could be 1/3 times 3/4. Now, you also could have said 3/4 times 1/3. It doesn't matter which order you put it in. And then I also wanted my final answer. So 3/4 times 1/3 equals 3/12. Now you need to show or explain how you used the picture to help you solve the problem. How did you use that picture to help you solve the problem? What I want you to do is I want you to take a moment and I want you to go ahead and try to type it out. Think about how we just did the last problem in our math workbook. Think about some of those words that we used. See if you can use that to help you describe how we solved this problem. I am needing you to use complete sentences. Okay? So this is an acceptable answer. There are more than one answers, but keep in mind, the more closer you are to this kind of response, the better it's going to be. So I said the picture was divided into 3 rows, as you can see. I then extended the lines to show 4 columns. I looked at the shaded portion. So this was shaded, this one was shaded, and this was shaded. And saw that 3/4 of the last row was shaded. In other words, of this last row, 3/4 were shaded. For what Group B ate. I knew that they ate 3 pieces out of 12 total. So they ate 3/12 of the casserole. That is a good reasoning and that is a good explanation. All right. So let's look at all the math words I used. It was divided into 3 rows. I extended the lines to show 4 columns. I looked at the shaded portion and saw 3/4 of the last row is shaded for what Group B ate. I know they ate 3/12 of the casserole. Done. When you're doing extended response, when you're doing typed out answers, make sure that you are showing every step of your thinking. I told you how the picture started. I told you what lines I added. I told you my thinking through the whole step. Right? So that's what I want you to keep in mind. When we're doing our extended response, I want you to show me every step of your thinking. Okay? All right, guys, have a great day. Bye.